Monique and I are just going to jump in. So this is my really good friend, Monique. I've known her for many years. And I met her, she's battling with bowel cancer, and she's finally got the remission from her doctor. And she has this amazing success story. And it was like the best news ever when she told us like last week. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. But just what I love about it is how it really resonated with how I like to live my life, and just how it ties in with all my self-love, my podcast, and what I'm about. And I just think it's a beautiful success story. And it's all about, how Monique it was all about mindset. And I just wanted her to share her beautiful journey with you and how she did it. And not to say this is a cure to cancer or anything like that, but it's more like her journey and the steps that she did, because it's so beautiful and it just totally resonates with me. And like I said, how I live and Anyways, I'm going to let you take it away, Monique, because I can start to ramble. So.
Beautiful, Benji. What a sweet. And I also want to share that you have been such an integral part as a close friend and somebody that lives the way you do and has the mindset that you do in being a part of my network to help heal me. I think people like you are really important to know. And, as you share the energy you have with others, and that receiving and giving of energy, if it's aligned, it's a really beautiful thing. So it's so nice to have you as my friend.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, I totally feel the same way. Right back at you, girl.
A lot of love.
Yeah, lots of love. I'm feeling the love. It's very good. We have our own little love bubble, don't we?
Yeah.
And let's get more people joining on. So, gosh, nice to see you. Lots of people. Lucy, Tad. Oh, nice to see you guys. Astrid. Okay. So why don't you take it away, Monique? I just gave it a little introduction. Monique's gonna just talk about her battle and also her success story, her journey with cancer, and how she got the remission from her doctor last week.
Well, I think it's probably important to include where a little bit of background to the person I was before, and sort of what led me to the experiences that I had. As a child, I grew up out of town. I had, access to nature all the time. We grew up at the foot of a hill, so we were outside. We had lots of animals and lots of space. We were very lucky in the way that we grew up like that. And I always felt a sense of freedom. I was a very curious kid, a very independent kid, and just loved activities and being amongst things. I was also a very emotional child. I felt things very deeply. And I didn't grow up actually with a lot of girls my age where I was. So I probably didn't get a lot of practice at communicating the things that I was feeling. I grew up with my older brother, and he had a lot of guy friends where we grew up. So I was used to being in that environment. I probably didn't connect to enough of that emotional side of who I was. So I didn't really know how to express what I was feeling. And as you're a child, sometimes you can be told to not be so emotional. So you kind of learn to hold those things for yourself. And then in high school, I was really deeply affected coming from a public primary school to a private high school. There was a lot of cliques there that I didn't really understand how to gel with. It was a lot of strong personalities, and I had a lot of tumultuous times with my first love, and I didn't again know how to communicate how I was feeling. I internalized a lot. I possibly didn't stay true to or be aware actually at that time of what my values really were and what my boundaries were, and learn how to assert that enough, which is ironic because everyone thought I was very strong. Inside, I'm a big old softie. And then I got lymphoma just after uni. So I finished my degree, and it was 2009, and I got lymphoma. I had I should also say a lot of various immune symptoms growing up, mostly evident in high school when I was feeling really stressed and emotional, anxious, depressed, all of those things. I had a lot of trouble with my iron, even though I ate a lot of meat. My mum is Eastern Europe, well, she's from Germany, her family's from Germany and England. So, meat, lots of carbs, but we did eat a lot of vegetables, and compared to people that we knew at the time, we did eat really well, and I was really, really fit. I was a sprint runner, sprint swimmer, dancer, so the active side was completely fine. And so, at the time that I was diagnosed in 2009, I was probably the fittest I'd ever been, but I still had a lot of troubles with tonsillitis. I had my tonsils taken out. I had glandular fever, I think, when I was younger as well. And I also, I was constantly just getting easily worn down, even though I was super active and, would seem like a normal child. So I had chemotherapy and radiation for that at the time. And cancer services have improved a lot since then. But my personal experience was quite rough with that, with the chemotherapy side mostly. You are very rushed, or I was very rushed through that system. From the minute of diagnosis to starting my treatment, it was 2 weeks. I didn't really understand, I don't feel entirely what I was about to go through. And actually, just as they were injecting my arm, or the nurse came over with the IV bag for the drug that they were about to inject me with, and she was in full PPE, like just to hold the IV bag that they were going to inject that fluid into my skin. And I'm thinking, if you can't hold that bag without all this gear and you're about to put that in my veins, what? And I didn't, again, know how to vocalize that, and I actually had a fit at the time. I've never had a fit in my life, and I blacked out and convulsed, and I internalized a lot of emotion through that experience, because I felt like, I was the first person in my family my immediate family to get cancer, and I felt like I had to be quite strong for everybody, and seeing my parents and my family upset was really tough to bear. So I wanted to try and make them feel like it would be fine and I can do that. And I didn't really communicate a lot about how that made me feel. And just coming out of high school, looks are quite important. I had long hair at the time, lost all my hair. Didn't recognize myself in the mirror at all. A lot of the symptoms that you get from having those types of treatments was really rough. So I was lucky enough to make it through that experience and go into remission from that experience. So that was fantastic. And I moved up to Sydney, made beautiful friends like Vange. I had a great time in Sydney. It was the best, but I was very much living in the moment. I was still holding down a lot of the things that I had felt. And my mindset was very much live like there's no tomorrow without hurting anybody. I just, have the best and the most experience out of life, but I wasn't thinking too far into the future, and I wasn't connecting to everything that I had felt in here. I was keeping that in, even subconsciously. I didn't have the awareness of what was going on in my subconscious, and I didn't connect to who I was as a person, I don't think. And then I struggled a bit in my later 20s with stress from work and feeling like I was aligned to what I was doing. So that created, again, a lot of emotion. I ended up moving to Brisbane. I needed to get on top of my finances. At 30, I wasn't where I wanted to be. And I moved up without knowing anyone just to start again. But I think what I was doing was just running away from the feelings that were coming up at the time, and I didn't know how to deal with them or what to do next. So I started a job up here and was again going through lots of stress because I didn't feel aligned to that job, but I wasn't sure what else to do. And again, probably still internalizing a lot of emotions. So I started noticing a few symptoms, like a lot of bloating. I wasn't able to go to the toilet as often as I should have. I had quite a lot of pain going on in my stomach. My nails deteriorated. My hair was falling out, and that, having had chemo before, was really distressing. And, started to create a lot of anxiety for me. So I took it upon myself. It was actually when COVID hit, and it was difficult to get appointments with a GP or any medical professional actually at that point, unless your case was serious. So I pushed really hard to be able to get some diagnostic services. So I wanted an endoscopy and a colonoscopy to look at what was happening inside, to see why is my body doing this right now. Even when I had cancer the first time, my blood tests looked quite good. So blood tests for me, I know personally, weren't accurate enough at telling me what was going on in my body. So I received the diagnosis at that time after the colonoscopy. It was a Haggett stage 4, which means that polyp has perforated the bowel, and it is through that bowel tissue, and it's in your lymph nodes. So that's when they want to do things like taking out your section of the bowel where that had been affected, and do further exploratory things to see what other treatments they might recommend. Anyway, at the time I went to see my surgeon. That was to take out that part of my bowel. It was the ascending colon on the right hand side going up, and I asked him a question: can you tell me what that part of the bowel does? Because inherently I just wanted to know more. I'm just a curious person. I wanted to know what's the risk of taking this part of my body out. How will I live a life beyond that? What's my quality of life going to be? Can you guarantee that will find whatever else is going on in my body? And this particular surgeon didn't take well to being questioned. And to cut that story short, I did leave the office quite abruptly because I didn't enjoy that experience. And I stood outside his office and questioned myself, why am I really not wanting to have these discussions? Is it because of the pain mentally that I still feel from that first cancer experience? Or is it because I'm not sure that this treatment option is for me? Do I need to seek other opinions from other medical professionals? What is it that's going on for me? So I took a couple of weeks actually after that diagnosis to really sit with that, and I think COVID allowed me the space because nobody could visit anyone. My family is in New South Wales and Victoria. I was the only one up here in Brisbane. I lived by myself, so for the first time I really felt like any of my health decisions, any of my significant decisions in my life were going to be solely influenced by me. And I didn't feel like I had to make a choice to go with what the majority felt. So it really made me question my values, I think, as I said. And I felt after the first experience and having had a lot of mental challenges and, going through what I'd gone through to that point, I just thought, you know what, actually for me, what I'm interested in is my quality of life. And I'm not so sure at any point, cancer or not, what the quantity is going to be. So if I'm asking myself what brings me the best quality of life, it means being close to the people that I love. It means doing something with my time that I love, the majority of my time that I love. It means being really honest with myself and connecting with my feelings and thoughts and learning how to share those lovingly with others, and a number of other things. So I just knew that I wasn't going to choose the standard path, and that I was taking away the fear that had been impressed on me from a number of sources to, for what cancer means. Cancer is a big, scary word, And the minute you're diagnosed, the fear that overtakes you can be really overwhelming. And I decided not to give in to that fear. I decided that I wasn't actually afraid of that anymore. And I actually believed that my body and my mind were trying to tell me something, and I was ready to listen. So I picked up the phone and decided to tell my parents that. And I think that moment I remember so distinctly, because it was such a big thing to tell your parents, hey, I'm going to take a gamble with my life here. It's my life. It's my decision. I love you dearly. I want to be on the planet for you and my loved ones, but this is the way I want to live. This is authentic for me. And I said, I'd like you to be on board with this. I know this is hard to hear, but I would like you, and I said the same thing to everyone in my circle. I said this to Vange and all of our friends. This is the way I'm going, and if you're on board, great, love it. If you're not feeling confident in my decision, please don't share that with me. You're entitled to the way that you feel, but I will only want to be in an environment where I'm sharing positive energy for the life that I'm choosing. So after making that decision, I quit my job. I was lucky enough to be able to live with my parents by the beach for a short period of time. While I healed, I changed my diet entirely to be vegan. I did a 21-day water-only fast, and I did that before I moved down, so I was isolated while I did that, which I think helped me immensely. I worked with a coach to do that because it was the first time I'd ever done it, and he was amazing in supporting me in understanding this way of life and also supporting me to take away more of that fear. I spoke to other people that had done or had made the same choice that I was making, and that really affirmed for me that I was on the right track. I spoke to a gentleman named Dana, who is a very Australian guy, and he won't mind me saying that. He had first had bowel cancer like me, and he had part of his bowel removed and went through chemo. And then he got liver cancer, and he decided, and that was a very serious diagnosis, and he decided to do the same thing that I had done, the fasting, going vegan, lots and lots of juices, and he'd been successful in that. And his mindset also really struck me as something important. The passion that he has for that lifestyle, the passion that he has for his own life and for the values that he has, was really infectious and beautiful to hear. So, I completely overhauled everything, and I did a few other fasts during that time. For the body, my personal opinion is that when you have a symptom of disease, and I say disease is how we commonly refer to it, if you have a symptom that your body is showing you, then it's saying, hey, pay attention. You might not be doing something that is helpful for you. It could be, you might be not thinking thoughts that are great for you. So you're going to feel, down and tired and whatnot, because your body's trying to say, hey, let's stop. Let's reflect on how you're feeling. And that's okay. Sit with that. Allow it to come up for you. And then, move forward beyond that. And if your body is, sick with an illness or disease, it's trying to tell you, hey, pay attention to what you're putting in your mouth. Maybe I need a break. Maybe I need to just clean what's in here already before you put more in. Let me just have a break. And then when you do put things in, can you give me nourishing food? And can you nourish your mind as well? So I stuck by that path for this whole time, and less than 6 months after my initial diagnosis, I had another colonoscopy, and with the same surgeon, gastroenterologist, and he said that my bowel was the cleanest, best looking bowel he'd seen. It's gross for some people, but I felt pretty proud. And he also, I had some bloods done, and even with a high fruit diet, eating vegan, that's the first time I've ever had perfect iron, ever. I had so much energy, but I was really clear in what I was thinking. I was really determined to make my life great, or as good as it could be, because, you know, we all face challenges, right? It's not perfect, and we all need to do a job to get money sometimes. But just my outlook on all of those things wasn't as intense, and it was just a bit more loving to myself. So I've probably rambled quite a lot there, sorry, Benj. But in a nutshell, that's the things.
Oh, but it's beautiful. I love your story. And what I love is some of the key points for me is how you really kind of surrender to the fact this is like you had cancer and you had to, I mean, you could do this. There's no attachment to the outcome. Like, of course you want to get better, but you didn't know it was going to happen.
Exactly.
Vision, because you wanted to live like this, and that was your decision alone. Like you said, it wasn't like, you know, you spoke to people, but you didn't have the influence of your parents, and you were doing this your way. Yeah. You know, anybody else was on board, but it was just to see what could happen, and because you're going to better about yourself and like how I love how it ties in with my whole podcast is self-love and giving back to yourself, whatever way that means, because at the end of the day, you know, we have to fill our cup and be full so we have more to give and can be the best version of ourselves. And yeah, that could mean, like you said, you quit your job because that was very stressful and you needed some time out to spend with your family and just get better and restore.
Just reconnect. It's like I've lost that sense of, like, that's an inherent part of health, right? Community and connection is a key part of what makes us human. We seek that. Our nervous system is actually attuned to needing that. We need that love, that affirmation, that support, safety, reassurance. We need that as a human. So I wasn't feeling those things in what I was doing in my life. So if I was to draw a circle and put different points on how I was traveling with, you know, finance, community, like physical body, mental body, all of those things, there were some distinct challenges that I was having, and I would say that connection and that allowing other people in as well, showing them who I am and not being afraid of that, and just taking the fear away. So often we're isolated and we can go into our mind and we can create stories in our mind that aren't real. Like it's just a thought. It's not real. You need to ensure that you are being kind to yourself in your mind. Your internal environment is dictated by your mind and your gut. They're both equally as important at, you know, creating that hormonal environment, and your hormones can trigger different reactions in your body. So if you're constantly feeding yourself with positive thoughts, there are studies that show that that creates a positive internal environment, and you can do amazing things when you have that. And you know yourself, like when you're interacting with others who have a positive energy, how that makes you feel. Like, it's incredible what you can achieve. So taking the fear away from, or taking, the minute you stop the fear, you stop the need to control, because control is a reaction to fear, right? You want to know what's going to happen so that you're not scared. And I feel like for me, in my personal experience with the Western medicine system, they created so much fear that I felt like I had to do those things. But for me personally, again, it just didn't align to what I was feeling about that. And that can relate to so many other situations in your life. You know, at work, if you're feeling really nervous and anxious about a presentation you've got to do, like in front of people, and you're creating all of these negative situations in your head, of course it's going to go bad. But if you believe that you can stand up there and do it, you're going to be just fine. You know, athletes do it too. They visualize that they're going to complete a race, for example, really well, and there's a lot of sports psychology around that, where they are teaching the athletes how to have that mindset I feel like you need to have that mindset in your life. It's not just for athletes, it's for everyone. If you can visualize yourself happy, succeeding, in a loving environment, anything that you are craving or you want from your life, if you can visualize that, that's amazing. You could be hit by a bus tomorrow, but you should enjoy the moment that you have and be grateful for what's around you, whatever it might be. We don't always have everything perfect. We just have to embrace what we have and, try to live the best life we can with what we've got.
100%, girl. Yeah, well said. Yeah, gratitude, right?
Yeah. And that goes to your ethos too, right? As a yogi, that is
totally
each.
Live with place of gratitude. It's just such a game changer. I think instead of focusing on, what we don't have or what we can't do, the lack thereof, focus on what we do have and who we are. It's such a gift.
Yeah.
Wow. My life is actually quite full and abundant. And I do agree, that's changing your mindset and being positive. Once you send out positive vibes, and you can actually manifest. And I've done things where you visualize and even on things that you want and this whole, vision boards, whatever. But it really, not to say it's going to happen, but putting it out there is like the first steps. And I think, connecting to your peeps, like people that support you, your tribe that's going to be there for you, can just talk to you or help you, and that's a big thing. Yeah, connections.
Do you notice that when people come in, like I can imagine, as a yoga instructor, when people come in, they're seeking that change in mindset, that break in the cycle, and what you're doing provides that. So when they walk in versus when they walk out is completely different, not just because they've lay on a mat or they've been in aerial yoga or whatever it might be that you're instructing them through. A lot of what you teach, because I've been part of your classes before, a lot of what you teach is, you're guiding the thought process as they're doing it, and you are sharing really positive words with them.
Yeah, I think one of the things I love about teaching is, when someone comes into my class, they might be like, oh, I have a hard day, I'm really stressed out. But when they leave, it's like a whole new person. And it's like, wow, it really does have an impact. And hopefully helping people and making an impact.
Beautiful.
That's what's right. Is share experiences and make an impact and help, create a better life for ourselves and for everyone. I mean, we're all together. So.
Yeah. It's like, I get a lot of people asking me, who I've shared my story with, how I could possibly do 21 days with no food. So many people have done more than that. Safely, there are things you need to know physically to support you. I'm not going to say everybody should just go do that. You certainly shouldn't. You need to do it safely. The mindset, though, for me was, obviously, you need to find your why. My why was pretty obvious and very, very strong. I was fighting for my life. I was determined to do that. Never done fasting before. By myself in my apartment. No one can come visit me even. But every day would just be, okay, I've just got to get through this moment. And now I've got to get through this moment. I'm not thinking 21 days ahead. It's just moment by moment by moment. And a lot of stuff comes up because when you can't distract yourself with food or with friends or with, maybe you want a cocktail or going to the gym or whatever it is, and you can't do those things and you have to sit there with your thoughts, that's hard. It is hard. I just did that in Bali with my partner at the time, and he was finding that hard too. It's confronting for anyone that has to sit there. We've all got things in our mind that we haven't perhaps given airtime, or we haven't moved through or accepted about ourselves. And so, I had a lot of that to do during that time, a lot of humble pie to eat. Obviously not literally, figuratively. But, it's okay to admit if there's something you want to work on. That vulnerability is what helps you move forward and get help and, again, connect to your community. and help your mindset in the long run. So failure is okay. Failure is fine. Failure is what teaches us. As long as you stand back up and you have another go and you're honest with yourself and you're honest with those around you, it totally changes what you can achieve and how you think about yourself.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I agree. Oh, well, that was so good, sweetheart. We went way over time. But
I can talk underwater.
It was so good, though. Like
Thank
I said,
you.
I just love, like I said, how it just resonates with, you know, my beliefs and how you followed your values and your beliefs to do this, you know, and
it's a very personal journey. Everybody's experience in life is very personal. So we shouldn't judge someone else's
100%.
journey.
Yeah.
It's what you want to do.
Yeah. And this is your journey. I loved it. I thought it was beautiful because I've known you as well for a long time. And I was like, wow. And I've seen the changes when you first moved to Sydney.
Party gal.
But yeah, no, it's beautiful. And I was just like, I just want to get your story out there because it's just so, yeah, it's beautiful. It's amazing. And like honored your truth and who you are and just really did it, not knowing what was going to happen. But that's the thing. You just got to let go of that fear and also that attachment.
Yeah.
What can happen? Just I'm going to live my life and
appreciate it. Just appreciate it.
Gratitude, 100% in there. Be grateful. Yeah, and like really, like, see, you know, you do something. Do you think, like, my thing is do something every day that makes your heart sing, fills your cup.
Yeah.
These little things make such a difference and shape you, and you know, everything that we feel inside is gonna snowball.
Yeah,
and yeah,
resonates out in the energy you put out, right?
Yeah. So that was so good, and thank you so much for
you.
Me.
I miss you. I'm gonna come to Sydney soon.
Yeah. Wait, I can't. Thanks so much for joining, guys. There was a question somebody had about what stage was it in I believe you said stage 4.
It was a Haggett stage 4. So for polyps or bowel cancer, they determine it. They use different language to name it depending on what it is.
Okay.
So it was a polyp, but that polyp had gone through the bowel, perforated the bowel, and was into the lymph nodes.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, someone just asked. I didn't want to like interrupt when you're I was like, oh, we'll get back to that. Yeah, awesome. Anybody else have any questions? Just type them now. No. All right, well, thanks so much for joining us. I post this on my podcast, which is with Angeline Yen, Selflove. And yeah, and let's chat soon. Come to Sydney.
Yes, girl. All right, love you.
All right.
See you soon.
Okay, bye. Bye. Bye, guys. Bye.